Hey, good morning. I'm Patricia Murphy. It's Tuesday. This is Seattle Now. If you're out and about in your neighborhood this week, maybe show a little extra love to your favorite local business. A recent survey of Seattle area small businesses finds many are struggling. Coming up, we'll learn about the economic forces at play and talk with a bakery owner on Capitol Hill who's made the difficult decision to shut down. That's in a minute. But first, let's get you caught up. It's the State of the Union tonight. President Donald Trump will address a joint session of Congress beginning at 6 o'clock. One senator who won't be there is Washington's Patty Murray. Beforehand, Senator Murray will make an address to Washingtonians about how she says the president has driven up costs in our state. That's happening at 3:15 and will stream on Murray's YouTube page. Also not attending, Washington Representatives Pramila Jayapal and Emily Randall. There's another chance to weigh in today on the proposed millionaires tax in the state legislature. It would impose a nearly 10% tax on household incomes that exceed $1 million. Earlier this month in the state Senate, more than 80,000 people signed in to give public testimony, according to the Olympian. Meanwhile, income tax supporters are calling into question whether those numbers were juiced with fake names and duplicates. The House Finance Committee is holding a public hearing at 8 this morning. The Seattle City Council will weigh in today on prohibiting federal immigration agents from using city-owned property as staging areas for civil enforcement operations. In late January, Mayor Katie Wilson issued an executive order to do just that, and it also requires the city to create signage that could be posted on city property like Seattle Center. The law does not apply to situations where federal agents are doing criminal enforcement or have a judicial warrant. The Public Safety Committee is expected to vote on the ordinance at 9:30 this morning. We're back with more headlines on tonight's episode of Seattle Now. Small businesses in Seattle are having a tough time. According to a recent survey of more than 130 brick-and-mortar businesses, conditions are just as bad now or worse than during the pandemic. More than 70% say foot traffic is down compared to the same time last year, and small business owners say costs are rising across the board, including rent, labor, supplies, and even insurance. To learn more, we're joined by Laura Kleiss, who led the survey. She's the founder and CEO of Intentionalist, a Seattle-based company that advocates for small businesses. Also here, Hannah Johannes, who owns Chikorina Bake Shop on Capitol Hill. Thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, really glad you're here. Now, Laura, let's start with you. The last time we chatted was about business during the holidays. Let's talk about this survey. What did you find in the big picture here?
The small businesses that we love are in a state of crisis. It looks like a neighborhood and citywide landscape where the brick and mortar places that we eat, drink, and shop are increasingly struggling just to survive.
And this is something, as I mentioned in the intro, has been going on since the pandemic.
The reality that so many of us may not be aware of is that the majority of small businesses never recovered from the pandemic. And in the years since, it's been challenge after challenge, making it virtually impossible for them to regain their footing.
Now, I want to talk more about that, but Hannah, first, let's talk a little bit about your brick and mortar bakery. You've owned it since 2021. It was first in the Central District and now on Capitol Hill. Let's talk about your business and some of the challenges you've experienced as an owner.
So we moved to Capitol Hill about 2 years ago, and ultimately our income just has no way of competing with our costs. Everything is up. Our rent is about 3 times higher than it was in the Central District. We were hoping sales would increase compared to the Central District, just because we're in a more urban, busy area, but that just hasn't been a reality for us. Our ingredient costs have gone up, and it just seems like everything costs more now. We have a really lovely community of customers in Capitol Hill, which I love, but we're just not hitting enough of our customer base and getting enough people in to make the space work for us.
Were you surprised that you were faced this issue on Capitol Hill?
I was. Ultimately, if it was up to me, I think I would have stayed in the Central District. Unfortunately, we just had some leasing issues at our space, so we had to move. But given how close Capitol Hill is to our old location, it's just a mile away, I thought things would just get better for us, especially being around so many people. And in some ways it has. We do get a little more foot traffic than our previous space, but the interactions we have are very different. Capitol Hill is so different from the Central District in terms of demographics. So it's a lot more just like quick interactions. People grab a coffee and they go, or a pastry, whereas previously we had a lot more interactions with families and people had a little more time to like stop and chat. Like I said, we have an amazing customer base in Capitol Hill, and a lot of our customers did follow us there. But you have to hit so many more different graphics to make it work in Capitol Hill. For example, like the tourism, the locals, people coming from other neighborhoods, just there's a lot more pressure.
Okay, so your lease issues forced you to move from the CD to Capitol Hill. You've also now had to make another tough decision. You're going to close the bakery. How did you come to that place?
It was really hard. My bakery is like my baby. I've owned it for 6 years. I think from the start in Capitol Hill, we just had a difficult time making it work, and I had to make a lot of really difficult choices. We had a larger staff starting, and ultimately slowly had to let them all go. I've always felt it was really important to hire within the community and give back, and I started baking from a free program called the Pastry Project in Pioneer Square, and I've always wanted to give back and train new people and make sure I'm paying living wages, and ultimately I just wasn't able to keep up with that. And over the last year, it's just been primarily me working in the bakery, trying to make things work and experimenting, trying to figure out what I do to make the space work. But honestly, at this point, I'm kind of fried and I'm exhausted, and the bills just keep racking up. So I think it's just time to let go of the space and take some time off and I guess see where life takes me next.
Laura, you work with small business owners all over Seattle. What did you learn about what's driving the drop in foot traffic?
The reality is that consumer behavior shifted during and as a result of the pandemic. And yet, while that's the case, I've also grown to believe that as so many of us went back to normal, we assume that that was the case for everybody. And one of the things that I think has been surprising as a result of the survey and analysis that we did is that small businesses that may seem like they're doing okay, in fact, are not.
Laura, you've called what's happening an invisible crisis. What do you mean when you say that?
When we're all staying home and we saw the lights go out in neighborhood businesses, when we saw boards go up, we knew that small businesses were in crisis. Because small businesses never fully recovered, because there has been challenge after challenge with regard to rising costs, falling foot traffic, falling sales, the truth of the matter is that even though the lights might be on and the boards came down, the small businesses in our neighborhoods are still struggling to survive. The crisis persists, and yet as we have all gone back to normal, what our small businesses need more than anything is the same intentionality that we brought when they were visibly struggling today.
We heard a little bit about what Hannah is dealing with and how she's been coping at her bakery. When you talk with other business owners, what do they say about how they're strategizing around these challenges?
Most small business owners are coping with these challenges by taking on additional debt. I can't tell you the number of small business owners I've spoken with over the past year who haven't paid themselves. And then at the same time, they're continuing to find new additional creative ways to raise visibility for their business, to partner with other businesses, to collectively galvanize additional support, and yet it still feels like it's not quite enough.
Hannah, what did you try along the way here? How did you try to adjust before you made your really tough decision?
One of the biggest changes I made was we switched to being open to the public for walk-ins just 4 days a week rather than more, which seems counterintuitive, but most of our income comes from pre-orders such as cakes and catering and not so much from the walk-ins for just like a pastry and a coffee. And that part of the business is very labor intensive, so it's kind of my favorite part, being able to like have people walk in, chat with them, serve up a pastry. But I just found that that was something I had to stop doing so much so I could focus on bringing more income into the business.
Okay. All right. And Laura, let's talk about solutions for a minute here. Based on what you've learned from this survey, what kind of help is needed, whether it's from the government or the community at large?
The first thing that we all need to recognize is that the small businesses in our communities are essential infrastructure. It's not just a place to grab a cup of coffee or even a delicious pastry. We're talking about economic, cultural, social infrastructure that is vital to our neighborhoods and communities. Secondly, once we recognize that they're in crisis, the solutions that are called for fall into two buckets. One bucket focuses on cost relief and stabilization, and the other focuses on what we can do to galvanize additional intentional spending.
Are there clues about the future of the city in your survey?
The small businesses that we love are in crisis. Crisis demands urgent intervention. I think without urgent intervention on both the cost stabilization and relief side of the equation, as well as the consumer and organizational spending side of the equation, we stand to see small businesses across Seattle and beyond decimated. And that's something that is starting to play out, and it's really scary.
Hannah, what would have helped you, or what might help you in the future even?
My biggest struggle in this new location was the high costs, especially with rent. At the end of the day, like, no matter how bad the economy is doing, the biggest struggle is you still have to pay your rent every month. And I'm really fortunate that I have a really great landlord, and they were very understanding, and they decided to forgo any of our rent increases that were scheduled, but it just wasn't enough.
So even with that help, it wasn't enough. Wow. What's next for you?
I don't know. I think I promised myself I'm going to at least take 1 or 2 months off to think about it and decide what I want to do next, because I think I still want to continue baking. Originally, I had started from just baking from my apartment with a cottage food license. I'm doing cakes and such, so I can definitely see myself doing that. But I just want to give myself some time off to think about it. But I know there are some people that I've been doing cakes for them for like 6 years, and I started with their baby showers to the baby's first to second birthdays, or there are a lot of traditions, and those mean a lot to me. So I definitely think I'll be baking in some capacity.
And you are not officially closed yet, so what is your last day in business in case people want to come by and say hi?
We are not sure yet, but we will definitely let people know. We're still looking for a buyer for the space.
Okay. All right. You know, Laura, we've been talking a lot about the issues small businesses have in the city, a little bit about the solutions. I'm curious if you get the sense that there is the political will to address this right now with our new mayor and our new administration here in the city.
The answer to that question is for the community to decide. We have had constructive, collaborative conversations with folks across the administration. And so, yes, I believe that the will is there. How that translates into action is essential, and yet it's only part of the solution that's needed. What gives me hope is that the solution is a more community-driven economy. The solution is recognizing the connections that we have to each other, and that is the strength of how we move forward. We each have a role to play.
Laura Kleiss is founder and CEO of Intentionalist, which advocates for small businesses. Hannah Johannes owns Shukarina Bake Shop on Capitol Hill. Stop in while it's still open. Thanks so much again.
Thank you.
Really appreciate the time.
Appreciate you listening to Seattle Now, and thanks to our generous donors for your financial support. What's the state of our union, Seattle Now listeners? Drop us a line or rate and review the show on your favorite podcast app. Today's episode was produced by Andy Hurst. It was edited by Caroline Chamberlain Gomez. Our production team also includes Vaughn Jones, Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers, and Paige Browning. Greg Kramer does our theme music. Seattle Now and KUOW Public Radio are members of the NPR network. I'm Patricia Murphy. We're back tonight with evening headlines.